In April 1912, the world's most luxurious ship set sail across the Atlantic Ocean. It was called Titanic, a marvel of engineering that many believed was unsinkable. Carrying more than 2,200 passengers, it was the pride of modern engineering. But just 4 days into its journey, tragedy struck. Tonight, we uncover the dark truth behind the Titanic. Imagine stepping aboard the most luxurious ship the world had ever seen. A ship so massive and advanced that many believed it could never sink. In April 1912, thousands of passengers boarded a floating palace called Titanic. It carried wealthy businessmen, hopeful immigrants, and families chasing a better life in America. But just 4 days into the journey, the unimaginable happened. In the freezing darkness of the Atlantic Ocean, the Titanic struck an iceberg. Within hours, the unsinkable ship was gone. Over 1,500 lives were lost that night. But here's the question historians still debate today. Was it really just an accident? When Titanic was built, it was the largest moving object ever created by humans. The ship stretched more than 880 feet long and featured luxury never seen before at sea. Inside were elegant dining rooms, a grand staircase, swimming pools, and even a gymnasium. The ship was operated by White Star Line. Engineers believed Titanic was extremely safe because it had 16 watertight compartments. If part of the hull was damaged, these compartments could seal off flooding. Because of this design, newspapers began calling the ship unsinkable. But that confidence would later prove dangerously misleading. 14,000.
Urgent message for the bridge. Multiple sightings of large icebergs.
As Titanic sailed deeper into the North Atlantic, several nearby ships began sending warnings. They reported dangerous ice fields directly ahead. Icebergs were floating across the shipping lane. Radio operators aboard Titanic received multiple iceberg alerts that day. But many of these messages never reached the captain. At the time, radio operators were busy sending private messages from wealthy passengers. Meanwhile, Titanic continued traveling at nearly full speed through the icy waters. Some historians believe slowing down that night could have prevented the tragedy. Late on the night of April 14, 1912, two lookouts stood high above the ship in the crow's nest. The ocean was unusually calm and the night was dark. Suddenly, they saw something terrifying. A massive iceberg appeared directly in the ship's path. They rang the warning bell and called the bridge immediately. The crew tried to turn the ship and avoid the collision. But the Titanic was simply too large to change direction quickly. The iceberg scraped along the side of the hull. Below the waterline, metal plates were ripped open. Freezing seawater began flooding into the ship.
Everyone keep moving! Get the children in the boat now!
As the crew realized the ship was sinking, they began preparing lifeboats. But there was a shocking problem. Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats. That was enough for barely half of the people on board. At the time, safety regulations were outdated. Ship designers believed lifeboats were only meant to ferry passengers to rescue ships nearby. As panic spread, lifeboats were lowered into the freezing ocean. Some were launched only half full, meaning hundreds of lives could have been saved.
We had a great time. Drive safely.
As the ship tilted further into the ocean, panic spread across the decks. Families were separated. Passengers desperately searched for safety. The freezing Atlantic water was only a few degrees above zero. Anyone who fell in would survive only minutes. In the middle of the chaos, Titanic's musicians continued playing music. Their goal was to calm the frightened passengers. But everyone knew the situation was growing worse. Just after 2 a.m., the front of the ship disappeared beneath the water. The back of the Titanic rose high into the air. Then the unimaginable happened. The ship broke apart in the middle. Moments later, the massive vessel slipped beneath the surface of the Atlantic Ocean. Hundreds of people were left floating in the freezing darkness. Their only hope was rescue. Out of more than 2,000 passengers and crew members, only about 700 survived. The survivors were rescued by the ship, RMS Carpathia. The disaster shocked the entire world. Afterward, international laws were changed to improve maritime safety. More than 70 years later, the wreck of Titanic was finally discovered deep beneath the ocean by explorer Robert Ballard. Today, the wreck rests nearly 4,000 meters below the surface, a silent reminder of one of history's most